What is going on, guys, gals, and everything in between? You are on the sidelines with the sideline guys. I'm Chris.
I'm Derrick.
Welcome back, everybody. Dude, so we make an excuse every week to say we got a lot to talk about, but
Yeah.
more so than a lot of weeks in recent memory, there's
Yes.
stuff all over the board here. We got a fun range of topics today
We
to
do.
go through.
We
So I'm
do.
really excited. First of all, I just gotta ask, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. A little tired. But overall good. How you feeling?
I felt that. I'm doing great. I can't complain. June is shaping up nice for me, and it's only the 7th. So that's fucking great. Stressed out, but
Yeah.
we're going to get there. We're going to
Yes,
get there.
sir.
That's all that
Yes, sir.
matters.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Real quick, let's get the housekeeping stuff out the way. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, please hit that like button, subscribe, and notification bell on the channel. You get updates for all the videos and episodes of different shows that we produce. But also, if you're listening to this on any podcast platform, please hit that. It's not the like button. It's leave a rating and review. My bad. Leave a rating and review. Let us know what you guys think. What you guys think about the show. If you have any suggestions for different things that we can do and to better ourselves as well. And this episode is also being brought to you by Champ Number One Boxers, the best boxers that I've ever worn. Please, if you guys want to go get some for yourself, for men and women, whether it's for sports things or just casual wear. This is great stuff for you to wear. So please go to the link in our bio on any social media platform. You will be able to support two Black-owned businesses at once by going through our link. So just hit that link, grab you some stuff, and get something for the champ in your life. So
heck yeah.
yes, there we go.
Hands down, best panties I've ever worn in my life. And I just got to say, you're a humble man, Derek, because you didn't shout out the brand OTS Media Co. on all platforms. Make
Oh,
sure you follow us. Make
yes,
sure
sir.
you like what we got going on, because
Yes, sir.
it's tremendous the amount of coverage that OTS does, and not just general coverage, the word, but the amount of things we cover here. There's
Mm,
this. We got everything for
yes, sir.
everybody, and I'm confident in that. So make
Most
sure
definitely.
you show us some love, like we do for you guys every goddamn week. So
Most definitely.
with all of that being said, let's get right into this.
Yes,
So
sir.
I've been excited to talk to you about this because, as with any as with any good event for the progression of our society comes bigotry.
Yeah.
So it's only right that we talk a little bit about what's going on right now in regards to Pride Month, of course. Um,
Yes, sir.
proudly representing those that are celebrating, of course.
Most
Thank you so
definitely.
much for. I just want to say I'm really happy to see in general the progression of society, even
Yeah.
those that generally don't want to be a part of that are finding their way into it. Of course, tokenism fucking sucks, but at the end of the day, it does show that we're getting towards the right area as far as where we're headed. But
Yes.
with that being said, there was a Pride Night event at the Tampa Bay, right? Tampa Bay Rays.
Tampa. I think it's Tampa. Yeah, 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 yeah. My bad. Yeah, Tampa
I
Bay
hope
Rays.
I hope we're
Yeah,
right on this.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Um,
It is.
but they what I find very interesting about this is a lot of players just decided, I'm not gonna participate in wearing the alternate pride uniforms for religious reasons. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to hear your take on this, but something that I was very stunned when reading it is the fact that they even had the option to do that. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
my reason for being shocked is obviously I'm a big fan of MMA. So whenever things are in this sports context, I'm always looking at the MMA side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And the UFC, fortunately, the last 2 years has been a part of Pride Month, but they do what they always do when it comes to these sort of things. They do the very bare minimum so that we can't get on them.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, what the UFC has been doing is allowing fighters that choose to participate, not mandated in any form. But if you want, you could get your name spelled in rainbow letters on your fight kit. Um, and they also give out these we are all fighters shirts,
Hmm.
which is, like I said, the bare minimum, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah.
But what I found very interesting about the Rays players being able to make this decision is obviously they're in a different situation than UFC fighters. Like, they're
Right.
employees.
Right.
This is it is what the Rays says that goes.
Yeah.
And the fact
Yeah.
that they were allowed to not participate because of their own reasons was very interesting to me. So I just want to open up the floor there and just ask your thoughts about their stance and what it says about today's league.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that they had the option as well because I didn't think that teams gave players options for anything like that. And whether it was Black History Month or breast cancer awareness. And I'm not well versed with baseball, so I'm kind of like going on the assumption of like what I've seen with the NFL and with the NBA. I didn't think that that was an optional thing at all. So for them to be able to have that option and wear the standard logos, um, I don't see what the problem is with wearing the pride patch. I see. I grew up in church, right? So I can, on one hand, I understand where they're coming from in a sense, in terms of this is just not something that they believe. But at the same time, you could, because I know I forget which player it was, but he said that this was a religious thing, and that they didn't want to support it, I guess, out of religious reasons, and because this is just not, this is against like what Jesus would want us to do and all that stuff. um I could counter that and say that you're supposed to show love to everyone. And with especially with that being the biggest thing, that religion and Christianity, but religion and all, is supposed to be about unity and loving on people, right? And
Pause.
so good one. But that that's what it is, man. And I feel as if it is very divisive to do something like that, because if you're at this point talking about that, I believe that they could possibly, you know, and I don't know about MLB and how they are with different holidays or acknowledging different parts of society, but
Mhm.
um that now sets a precedent that this is an optional thing to show support for those in your community. And you have fans of all walks of life, right? You have fans that are part of LGBTQ community. You have fans that are black. You have fans that have breast cancer and all those other things. Like there's a lot of things that they have, and to me, it shows that you're supporting them. I don't think you necessarily have to agree with someone's lifestyle, right? As
Mhm.
long as it's not hurting anyone or whatever. To me, if you don't agree with it, that's your personal stance. But to not show support for someone, uh if it's not for you, it's not for you, right? Like, I'm a straight guy, but that doesn't mean that I can't support those in the LGBTQ community. I support their rights, and want them to be able to do what it is that they want to do freely, right? It should not just be one sector of the population that's able to do whatever. So, um, in my opinion, I think that that's a bad optic for not only those players but the team and the MLB overall, that this is even an optional thing.
Hmm. I tend to agree, but I think this is what I'm about to say is a little bit of a controversial sentiment, but I'm going to say it because I
Okay.
think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally am someone that supports all gay rights 100%. So I'm not
Hmm.
someone that falls in that camp. But at
Hmm.
the same time, if I'm going to say that I am someone that supports generally the idea that people can do what they want, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to make the sentiment of saying, what they're doing is wrong, or what they're doing by deciding to not represent that they
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have that option, that shouldn't be something they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because frankly, I think everyone deserves to have the right to their opinion. Now, the issue
Yeah.
with that is obviously, um, the reason why it's important that this community is getting this kind of inclusion is because for so many years they've been ostracized. For so many
Right.
years,
Right.
um, those same reasons that they used to deny wearing that patch is the same reasons that they have been told that they cannot be married. Same
Right.
reasons that they have been outright many hate crimes towards people in the gay community, and
Mm-hmm.
all in the name of God. So how hypocritical is that?
Right. Right.
Um, I 100%, like I said, it's very hard for me to say, hey, I support everyone. Ultimately, do what you do as long as you're not hurting someone. That's why
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's kind of hard for me to say, like, hey, you guys are really fucking up by not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I feel like I do support people's right to make that decision. It's on the raise, though, because in my opinion,
Right.
I think this is something that if you're going to implement it and don't give people the option, because
Yeah.
especially because you have the power to do that as an organization.
Right.
The
Right.
reason
Right.
why I brought up the UFC parallels, they don't have the power to do any of that because technically all of their fighters are independent contractors, so they can
Exactly.
suggest that they do things.
Yeah.
um, that doesn't extend to much more luxuries. Trust me, it
Yeah.
is not as black and white as I'm saying it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I made that parallel because obviously it's very few people who took up the option to support
Mm-hmm.
um, pride and wear those rainbow colors. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a funny parallel because obviously on the other token, it's like you're forced to do it as an employee of the Rays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your rights should be taken away in that way. But everyone in the UFC has complete freedom to do it if they want to, and nobody's fucking doing it.
Right.
So
Right.
I would say 100%, no matter what, you should be supporting this cause because this is not something that can be helped. This is the
Mm-hmm.
same thing as like, or something that needs to be helped. Like this is not something that they choose. This is not something that it's like they wake up one day and decide this is what I'm going to be, which is
Right.
why I
Right.
find the argument too, where people are like, I don't want to expose my kids to the LGBTQ community
Mm-hmm.
because then my kids are automatically going to be a part of that. And I'm like, well, that's not something that you would have control over either way. That's not
Right.
something
Right.
that they have control over either way necessarily either. So
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, I support people having the option to do whatever they want to do, whatever they feel is right for themselves. But at the same time, when you're infringing on the empowerment of other people, it's a dick move. Like, let's just call it what it is. It's a dick move. You're being selfish in the name of God, which I find hilarious. But at the end of the day, I will say I do support their right to make that decision. But ultimately, this is on the Rays. This whole publicity, negative pub for the MLB, is
Yeah.
on the team because if it's like that, don't even give them the option because clearly a lot of people are going to take that stance and try to make it as quiet as possible as far as the blowback from it.
Right.
Um, Now, I support journalists in questioning these athletes on these things. Do I think it's going to happen? No. And let me just be frank about that. I feel like cross MMA specifically, these are things that are entirely against the culture that was created for the sport. And I feel some journalists are scared, which is hilarious considering what you're getting into. You shouldn't be afraid to ask any question. That's your freaking job.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are afraid to peel back that layer of the onion because now you're doing something that is considered taboo. And in today's day and age, let's be very clear, it is no longer taboo. So this is
Mm-hmm.
not something that is off limits. This is something that should be questioned. These people should have their feet put to the fire and
Mm-hmm.
be made to answer for their decisions.
Yeah.
And regardless of how, whatever reason it may be, it's going to be a stupid reason. Let's make it clear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I do support their right to have that reason. Now, my question here moving forward is as an organization, the Rays are trying to do the right thing.
Mhm.
Do you feel that if a team is going to implement this, which I think all of them should, that it should be mandatory,
Mhm.
and sort of what the reasoning is? Because I just
Yeah.
made it clear I don't feel it should be, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you should be forced to answer for your bigotry.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about it to me is if you're an employee of a company and you have to wear a uniform, you have to wear the uniform. I don't like red. Okay. Red is an annoying color to me.
I've never heard that. That's
It
that's I
it,
don't know how I feel about you now.
it I know it's a terrible perspective to have. But no, I don't like red, and I've had what 2 or 3 different jobs where I've had to wear a red uniform,
Hmm.
and I'm being paid. I don't like red, but I'm there to work, right? So uh, at the end of the day, it's not as if the what you're wearing is something that is going to hurt you. It should be mandatory. I think it should be mandatory because of the fact that if you're trying to send a message as a league or as a team, if you're trying to send a message to a specific community that you support them and that you love them, don't don't be in halfway, you know, that's the contradicting part about it, because I know, and to me the to me the issues are different, but similar in the fact that there is a lot of hate toward both groups. But um as a black man, if I'm looking at a team or a league, like say for the example for the NBA, they wore the in the bubble, they wore those jerseys with different messages on them, and um, also different just because of black people getting shot down and killed by cops, right? And you had some people that decided to just wear their names on the back of their jersey. Cool, whatever. But there were teams that during the national anthem that knelt on one knee. And back then, with the Miami Heat, Myers Leonard decided he wasn't gonna kneel. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Jonathan Isaac as well decided to not kneel during the anthem. And to me, it was one of those things where it, it's a sign of solidarity. If and just support for community. If it doesn't, if you don't want to participate, okay, but I mean, to be completely honest, it is something that causes a big distraction for your team in the moment, right? And for Myers Leonard, Jonathan Isaac, whatever. I don't necessarily consider. I wouldn't necessarily say that just because your stance is that way that you automatically hate that group that this is in solidarity for. At the same time, it's not a good optic for you
It's
as an
implied.
individual, but it is implied. Yes, there's an implication that you have an issue with them, and that's where the problem lies. So for these guys that refuse to wear the patch, again, and it doesn't necessarily say that they hate the LGBTQ community, but it does not show that they show any type of level of solidarity or love for the community. So, I think that they should rethink it. I think if you're going to have these patches available on your uniforms, it should be a mandatory thing across the board. Don't give an option, and that's because you have a mandatory uniform.
Yep.
Right, like if you have a mandatory uniform and you have to your employee has to wear that, if you want to show solidarity toward a community, and you decide to put your logo on there in a sign of solidarity, there should not be an option for it. Just do it. Just have it across the board. It's only for a month. Like that's another thing. It's not like you're wearing this all year long. What is the fight?
Exactly.
What is the fight? What is the problem? It's a little badge. And the pictures I saw, it was just a little badge on the sleeve, and I think on the hat.
Hmm.
What are we upset about?
Yeah. And I just love on this show that we could show people that we can talk and we can disagree and
Hmm.
have a civil conversation, because I agree with a lot of the things you're saying. Like
Yeah.
I 100%, once again, I mean, make my stance clear because I feel like this can easily be misconstrued. I
Yeah. Yeah.
100% am for all of these actions, and I think that the if you're mandating it, that's how it should be. Let me just make that clear,
Yeah.
because they deserve that recognition. A, but B, it's not even just about what they deserve. It's about what we all deserve as people. I think at the end
Right.
of the day,
Right.
if somebody was to say, well, I'm gonna I'm gonna wear an upside down cross on my jersey in solidarity of satanics. The outrage for that would be much higher than it
Yes, it
would be
would.
for these people
Yeah.
that are deciding to not participate in solidarity of Pride Month. So it's all bullshit if you ask me. I think those that take these stances, let me be very clear about this, and I'll look in the camera when I say this.
Mhm.
They're afraid that they might like the way Dick tastes, so it bothers them. It's scary. It's scary to be a part of the solidarity, because now what does this mean for me? How does this change my life? And that's the selfish aspect of it. These people are clearly being selfish, and at the end of the day, if
I
you
wasn't
cannot
expecting
support, yeah, definitely not.
that.
You cannot support human rights, period.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter what it's for. Human rights, period. You're on the wrong side of the discussion, in my opinion.
Right. For
You're
sure.
living in the past,
For sure.
and do I think it's okay morally? No, but do I
Yeah.
think it is fair that these people can make the decision to live on the wrong side of history? Yes. I
Yes.
think
Yes. Yes.
everyone deserves to live the way they decide to, but at the end of the day, that does not absolve you from the scrutiny for doing it, and that's
Hmm.
why I think they should get all the hate that they deserve for doing that. At the same time, let's just refocus this on what is important. I'm glad to see the representation in the league, period, because
Hmm.
if you even 5 years ago, 6 years ago,
Oh yeah.
I feel like this couldn't be imagined.
This
So
wasn't a thing. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see the gains that have been made, but at the end of the day, it's a sticky situation for me because of all
It
the
is.
scenarios I laid out.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you can't support people's rights to do whatever they want to do, I don't agree with you, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say one thing. One more thing. I think that, to be completely honest, I think a lot of these things from corporations anyway is just a way to placate in a way.
Very much
Uh,
so.
so
White knighting.
yeah, it's just to save themselves, and I can't really speak to the Rays again because I don't know much about baseball, but um corporations do this all the time. Like we just saw, Walmart come out with the ice cream for Juneteenth, like as if that was supposed to show some
Holy shit.
support, and then they pulled it because now there's outrage from Black people, rightfully so. You're earning money off of our liberation, and it's not as if you're donating that to
Exactly.
any cause. You know what I'm saying? And if the MLB is going to do that with these types of jerseys, to me, like that's even more reason to wear it. To me, that's even more reason to support it because you can help out different causes and with different issues. I know there's something. I think there's a organization that's helping trans people with not being able to. I forgot what it is, but it's helping trans people out to make sure they're not getting killed in certain situations and stuff like that. I believe. And so, like to me, that would be a worthy cause to donate that money toward. You know what I'm saying? So if you're
For
gonna
sure.
do it, but don't do it just
Yep.
because you're gonna be able to make money. That's my biggest thing.
For sure. And at least have some representation. I don't know what the
Yeah,
status is. I don't know
yeah,
what's going on, but why not change the people that are throwing out the first pitch for the month, right? Like actually get some
something.
people involved
Yeah,
from that community
yeah,
and actually make a fucking difference. Get some
yeah,
people to front row in those games
yeah,
to represent the beautiful sort of pride that they have in their
yeah,
ability to be themselves
yeah,
and what that means, because that's important. This isn't
yeah,
just about a fucking patch on the shoulder.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
about really doing what you're saying you're doing.
Yeah.
And do I think they're doing that? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's good to see nonetheless that they're moving towards the right direction, even if
Yeah.
they're not perfect.
Yeah.
But I think everyone, in my opinion, in this scenario is due for some scrutiny, because at the
For
end of the
sure.
day, especially those that are removing themselves from supporting, it's just set such a bad precedent for what you think is okay and what
Mm-hmm.
you can do as an individual to stop
Mm-hmm.
the rights of others in today's society, which is um, crazy to think about. But
Yeah.
once again, that's something that I think is so beautiful about today's day and age, is the fact that we've come so far, but we need to remember just how close those things were. That's less than a person ago. Like that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
that even just as far as black rights and civil rights, that
Mm-hmm.
that is less than a person ago. Let's not
Yeah.
forget that, because
Yeah. Yeah.
people love talking down on the woke culture.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real about what you are standing for when you're not in agreement with what
Right.
the woke culture is trying to get, and that is equality for everyone. So
For sure.
um, yeah, fuck those guys. And all I gotta say is shout out to Jeff Molina from the UFC. He's a flyweight, so not doesn't get as much buzz as most other people, but he is someone that wore the shorts, and in the post-fight media scrum after he won, talked
Mm-hmm.
about how he's been getting so much hate from the fan base for doing it. People reaching out to him, threatening him for doing this, for sharing in that solidarity. And he just had a lot of eloquent things to say about, it's not even necessarily, and this is what I found hilarious, because I think it goes in line with what I was saying. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even necessarily like I'm I'm a part of that community, or I'm like deep into it in that way. It's just more
Mm-hmm.
so about I care about people's ability to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
ultimately having that stance, you would think in today's day and age, isn't a noble one. But especially in the MMA fan base, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
way worse than it is in other sports.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jeff Molina for doing what he can to fight that stigma. And at the end of the day, I really hope for the day that this becomes not normalized is an interesting word when talking about this subject, but I would say something that is seen to be as just people representing themselves the same way you would with any other flag. Because at the end of the day, if that's how you identify, you deserve to represent yourself that way. Like the fact that people try to take that away from others is insane.
Don't get me started on that flag, man, because I'm in the South. That Confederate flag still, I see that Confederate flag all the time. So, we're
You
going
know, it's
to,
my favorite. And PA, you go to PA, you'll see more. You'll
oh,
see
yeah.
more there than you would in a lot of bordering states, which is
Yeah.
hilarious, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that,
interesting.
and I don't think that's an American issue. I think this is a full across the world issue. I think there's
Oh, yeah.
bigots no matter where you go,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
will band together to try to be in support of these causes and
Mm-hmm.
put a rest to all these progressive causes.
Mm-hmm.
But you're on the wrong side of fucking history, bud. And at the end of
Most
the day,
definitely.
trust that it will die with you and your children, most likely.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we'll leave
Yeah.
it at that
You will lose.
for sure. And you deserve to lose. Let's make
Most
that very
definitely.
clear too. But hey, I like that. I like that. You see, we can have productive discussions on this show,
Most
and,
definitely, man.
and disagree. We don't
Yes,
gotta
sir.
agree.
Yes,
We
sir.
just talk it through, which I love.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we got some exciting stuff to talk about. I hope this isn't a crash joke here, but I have to say it. I mean, it's only appropriate. We go from Pride Month to talking about the WNBA. So shout out to the WNBA for actually being on the forefront of representation for a much longer time than
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of other leagues.
Most definitely.
Um, Derrick Fisher has been fired from his job with the LA Sparks. It is right. Did I
Yeah.
get that right?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
look at
Yes,
look
sir.
at me. Um, I just want to say for a long time, even when he was in the league, not a fan of what
Yeah.
he does. So I would say generally this is deserved, but interested to hear your thoughts on this move for the Sparks.
Yeah, I actually thought that he lost that locker room a while ago. So I was kind of surprised it took him this long for him to lose his job.
It's the name,
Um
right?
it's the name. It's the name, but it's also because he's won championships in LA. And we discussed this before, but I think that another way of bringing notoriety and respect to the WNBA, I should say more notoriety and more respect to the NBA, is by allowing some guys that want to get into coaching. This should be the platform first that they start to learn, to actually become head coaches, because um we've seen guys in the NBA that become coaches that honestly they shouldn't be. And I couldn't, I'm not saying that it should be a test area, but I think it should be a thing that both parties benefit from, right? Like if you
Mhm.
bring, for example, I think when Marcus Smart is done playing, I believe he's going to become a coach at some point down the road. And it would make sense to see him, because I want to see a WNBA Boston team, right? It would make sense to see him coaching that team first
Hmm.
and rising through the ranks. And if there's a vacancy and there's a team in the NBA that wants to hire you, then you come over. But there's so many times where we've seen guys get coaching gigs in the NBA that don't, that honestly is like, why?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be coaching anyone, honestly,
Steve
but
Nash.
yeah. Perfect example. I think that it would be good though to see these guys that want to become coaches, because Rasheed Wallace is joining the Lakers coaching staff for this season. Um, it'd have been interesting to see him coaching in WNBA, to be completely honest. It would have been nice to see that.
Hell yeah.
um and I think that would just bring some more eyes to the league. We discussed this before, but I think that would be something that would be useful
Mhm.
um all around. And again, Derek Fisher is not someone that I really saw when I watched games. I didn't see that he was actually like, he didn't strike me as someone else keeping that job. I just put it like that. He did not look like someone that was going to actually be there. So
For sure.
it's very interesting. And we're seeing like Becky Hammond, right? Like she's the
Mhm.
coach for the Aces, and doing a phenomenal job. And I wanted to see her be the coach in San Francisco. I mean, not San Francisco, and San
San
Antonio.
Antonio. Me too.
I wanted to see her with the Spurs, and it sucked that she didn't get that job. But at the same time, seeing what she's doing in the WNBA, that is going to, I believe, build her notoriety up to where there's going to be a NBA team that looks at her and, hey, you know, how about you come on over and coach for us? So I just think it's a very good move. I just want to
For
see
sure.
more guys that want to get into coaching, or women that want to get into coaching, go coach there.
And it's the most applicable experience, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
much more applicable than being a college coach that makes their way to the
yes,
NBA ranks like that. It is
yes,
both the highest level of the sport
yes,
and it's the same sport. Like you can argue,
yes.
oh, there's big differences. No, there isn't. As far as the way the game is played, the rules, etc. It's not like the 3-point line is in a different area in the WNBA. It's not how it works. It's uniform across the board. So I would say that's a much more applicable coaching experience than it
Yeah,
would be if you were in college. So I
yeah.
agree with everything you said, and I think it'll only help the league. But also, you want to avoid it sort of feeling like a feeder system. Like you don't want it to be
That's
like,
yeah, yeah. I
mhm,
agree. I agree with that.
because I think they deserve the glory on that same level where people
Hmm.
that should be a coveted spot. Like
For sure,
there's only so many teams, like there's
for
only so
sure.
many teams, so there's not going to be many of those seats available. But
But that's
yeah,
why I
if you're
also.
fucking up, oh
I'm
sorry to
sorry.
interrupt.
No.
If you're fucking up as a coach, it doesn't matter if you played for the city or you won a chip for
Yeah.
the city. If you need to be removed, you need to be removed, and that's what
Exactly.
happens. So
Exactly. But I think that's also, I think bringing in guys that want to be coaches, like Rajon Rondo, for example. I believe he's going to be a coach. Um, it would make sense for him to be coaching in the WNBA right now. It would make complete sense. And I do believe that if you get enough people in there, I think it would probably feel at first like it's a feeder type of thing, and just whatever. I think it would feel like that at beginning, But if you have basketball minds going into WNBA and becoming the coach Sполs of the league, or Popovich, like Phil Jackson, if you're able to establish yourself that way in the league, in the WNBA, I think it helps grow the league out more, and I think that that will become a coveted position, because I think, especially if you're going to go into the arena of expanding the league out, which I believe they are going to do. But if they're going to expand the league and have more teams, you have these new teams coming into the league. That would make sense. Go ahead and see what you can do, and you know learn as a coach, right? And I think that Derek Fisher actually did learn as a coach. Um, so we'll see what happens with him coming up, but I wouldn't even be surprised if he became a coach of another WNBA team. To be
Hmm.
completely
Yeah,
honest, it wouldn't shock me.
for sure.
Um, but who knows, man? Who
Thanks for
knows?
bringing that around too, because this definitely felt
Yeah,
like the shit on Derek Fisher hour.
not well.
But yeah, if you deserve, you're only worth what you have the ability to negotiate. And I would say
Right,
if he's
right.
able to get another job, of course, then there's value there. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, yeah, I'm 100% on board. And I think you mentioned something that gives me a perfect segue into the next thing I wanted to ask you.
Mm.
There's been a lot of traction for the NBA doing the same thing, which is expanding. So this is something
Yeah.
that we talked about on this show before.
Yeah.
um let's do this the fun way, okay? Let's do
Yes,
this the
sir.
fun way.
Yes, sir.
So I am Adam Silver. Yeah, I got the bald head to match, right?
Yes, sir.
We got four teams that we're going to be adding to the NBA. Offer it
Mhm.
four teams that we're adding. How are we going about this, and what are the markets that you would choose?
How do you go about it? Um, if you got four teams, so there's, I think you shuffle some teams to the East actually. Memphis definitely should be in the East.
Yeah,
The Pelicans should probably be in the East.
good point. Yeah.
uh, and then I would say add two to the West. If you add those teams to the East, you add two more to the West. You said four teams though, right?
Yep.
So you add three to the West and bring those two markets to the East, one more to the East, and that'll be what they're 12 per conference. Is it 12? No, it's
No.
15.
Yeah.
It's 15. So if you add three to each conference, that'd be 18. So you
Yep.
have 36 teams right there, right? So it'll still be even. But the other two markets I would shoot for, one is definitely Seattle. The other one I would say Mexico.
Nice.
You have
It'll be
you
West for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because if you have one team that's out of the country in the East with the Raptors, you can have one that's out of the country in the West in Mexico, and I don't think the travel would be too different than what it is, right? Like,
Hmm.
is that's not too far down, especially if you're like toward the upper. I don't know where Mexico City is, but if is that closer to the top, like closer to the border,
Yeah, it's closer to the heart of Mexico,
to
but
the
at the
heart of it?
same time, it makes sense that it would be in the West when you consider teams like the Texas-based teams are in the West.
Right, right. So yeah, I would do it like that. I would do it like that. You add three to the West, add one new team to the East, with bringing the Pelicans and Memphis Grizzlies over to the East, and do it like that.
Okay, so what you mentioned two, Seattle and Mexico. What would the other two expansion markets be? Just curious.
Oh, the other, I'm
What
sorry.
would be
There
your
that would
East
be
one as
another.
well,
That'd be
since you
yes.
pigeonholed yourself a little bit?
Um. So bringing Memphis and New Orleans over, I would
But those will be
say
still the same organization,
those
right?
are the
Like it's
same
not going to be
organizations.
changing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, same organizations. and then maybe adding another team to. Let's see. Florida has Heat or the Magic. Would it be bad to add a third team in Florida?
I don't think it'll be bad. What they got 3 teams in the NFL, right?
Yeah, they do.
Hmm.
You have Jacksonville, you have Tampa, and then you have who's the other third team in? Oh, Miami
Yep.
for the NFL. So I would almost follow that, or maybe you add another one to. Well, New York's already got two. Add one to Jersey.
Hey, that's the East one.
Yeah,
I like it.
add a team to Jersey. Bring the team back to Jersey. The Nets left. Put a team back there.
I just want to say, if you ever walked in Newark, past the grim time of 9 p.m., you know why there's no NBA team in New Jersey. But I like the way you're thinking, man. I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I
Fill some
agree.
voids.
I agree. You gotta fill the voids on the map.
Yeah.
And here's where I'm gonna go for mine. So I'm not concerned with conferences. I feel like that's gonna be too much work for my brain at the moment. So here's gonna be my expansion teams. I'm gonna go two east, two west,
Yeah.
and not confuse myself. For the east, I'm going Puerto Rico. Off rip. Let's go. Puerto Rico, baby. It's that
Oh,
time of the year.
perfect.
And it's right underneath Florida. That's how I'm like
Yeah, I
three
forgot
teams
about
for
that.
Florida, man. What's going on here?
There you
Yeah, Puerto
go. That's
Rico.
perfect.
Puerto Rico's the one.
Yeah.
And
Forget
then
Jersey.
forget Jersey. And now I'm going deep cut on this one. This one's gonna be a shock to some people, but hey,
Okay.
uh, this place is in need, right? This place is in need. Let's bring an NBA team to Maine. No one's expecting this. You call them the Maine Lobsters or something like that, and it'll be great. We have actual reason to be proud now, right?
Yeah.
Those people that live in Maine. I know that was a random cut. It's probably going to be the brokest franchise to start it off.
Yeah.
But hey,
It
I
would
think
be.
I think it'll be fucking packed in there because hey, what else are you gonna do out there? Like, let's be clear.
Our
What else are you
G
gonna do?
League was up there, bro.
No way, really.
Boston's G League was up there. It was the main Red Claws.
Look, come on, bro. Come on, bro. The
I
story
think
writes
I think
itself.
that's still our name, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. I think that's still our
makes
name.
sense. I like
Yeah.
that a lot. So yeah, I'm writing in Maine here.
Yeah.
For the West, Seattle's the no-brainer. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do something else.
Okay.
Um, so this is questionable. I'm gonna say
Uh,
off rip, this is questionable. But we're going further west, even further west.
don't
Yeah,
say
yeah,
it. Don't
yeah,
say it.
yeah.
Are you serious?
Let's add a California team, but obviously we're nowhere near Los Angeles. We need one all the way down, in the desert area of California.
Yeah,
Make it
yeah,
fun, right? Like
yeah.
Hesperia. I don't know what I set myself up for there, but yeah, another California expansion team on the opposite side of the spectrum because all the teams are up
Okay.
here.
Yeah,
Let's even it out. California is the biggest state in America, so it
yeah,
deserves that representation. It doesn't have to be all crowded in LA.
yeah.
And then my final one would be um, this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it. Vancouver. Um,
Oh
I feel like
yeah,
they deserve it. Obviously,
yeah,
they got their team taken away in a very sad turn of events. So why not? Why not?
yeah. No, I like that. I like that. Hawaii is. I thought you were gonna go Alaska actually when you said
Oh
further
man.
west. Uh, but Hawaii wouldn't be a bad look either.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
The time zones is tough though. But
time zone is tough. Yeah, yeah. But I love that Puerto Rico one. Like I really love that one. That makes a lot of sense.
hell yeah, you don't even need a passport, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, just go. Just go. You know, that'd be interesting. I like that.
Yes,
I like
sir.
that.
I gotta
Yeah.
represent for the people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I like the way that conversation went. Now the real second part of the question that we didn't address. So I'll start. Um, I think this will be very very fun, very 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 fun. So you do it by contract, right?
Mhm.
So this is what you do. You lay out all the contracts from all the teams, right, as currently laid out
Hmm.
by salary. So the highest salary, obviously, those first four off limits, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a draft here. Okay.
Yeah.
Every fifth highest salary on each team is in the NBA expansion pool. Okay.
Okay.
Now, there's minus one player across the league.
Uh-huh.
So free agency, whatever season this happens in, will be fun. But the entire draft class of that year is only a part of the expansion pool. So now you have one
Mhm.
player from each team with the fifth highest salary, and the entire draft pool of that year allocated to those four teams only. First round, let's say, because that's enough to fill these teams, right? And
Mhm.
then, of course, you have your free agency period. So maybe someone signs outright. I think that's a fun way to do this, right? Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not
Yeah.
mandate that as a league you lose some of the depth that you have? But that's how these teams will create a sustainable culture. Because
Yeah.
honestly, not sure how it's been done in the past, but a lot of those expansion teams have suffered off rip for
Oh
many
yeah.
years by not
Yeah.
having a name and by
Yeah.
having to start from scratch. So why not make it a little bit easier? So that's my crock in the pot random idea there for you.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. And you could actually argue, depending on what the salary cap is, you could also argue that some guys that are generally not going to be paid big money could get paid big money in those expansion teams because they would technically be like the star. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say, for example, um,
Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal going to Puerto Rico.
That'd be fire. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, he's gonna get money anywhere
Bradley
he
Beal.
goes. But anyone that's like that wants big money. So, for example, you remember when Gordon Hayward wanted like a lot of money. He wasn't getting that from Boston. He went down to Charlotte.
Yep.
Guys like that
Mm-hmm.
want to get those big contracts that can't get them with these teams that have guys already go to those expansion teams. I think that'd be phenomenal.
Heck yeah.
I think that'd be phenomenal.
Heck yeah. You
They're gonna
catch
suffer,
Kemba.
but you suffer in paradise. So what's
Exactly. Exactly. What's the downside? Unless you're that Vancouver team, then you're just
oh
freezing,
yeah, yeah,
freezing to
you're
death.
miserable.
But hey, you got to start somewhere. Still, I
Yeah,
like it. 34 teams in the league. That
yeah,
sounds like things would get, for at least the first couple years, a little watered down. But once you're in the full swing of things, right, the talent's there. Like there's
yeah.
enough players to fill those teams.
I mean, the playoffs are the playoffs. You have those 16 teams, top 16, and possibly expanded to a little more, right? Like if it's right now, if it's 1 through 8, what if it expanded to 1 through 10? What does that look like?
Hmm.
You see what I'm
That
saying?
that's interesting.
What
Yeah.
does that look like? Because that now allows other teams that didn't get in to get in. The play-in tournament would end up being 10 through what, 10 through
12.
12?
Yep.
That'd be
And then only four teams don't make the playoffs. I don't really like that.
yeah, that'd
That's
be
too close.
that'd be no. I mean, still, I'm saying if you expand the playoffs to each conference being 1 through 10 instead of 1 through 8.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, but including the play-in and the playoffs, because it's
Oh,
the
I got you,
fucking
got you, I got
playoffs,
you.
right?
Yeah, it is
Only
playoffs. Yeah.
four teams would be missing out, which I feel like is a little low. Like,
Hmm.
what? I mean, can't change the lottery. I mean, the draft lottery, right? Like, it's not like you could
Yeah.
you could be like, hey, there's only eight teams that are getting in the lottery. You know, it's that
Yeah.
14 team
So would you keep
situation.
it?
But
You keep it to 1 through 8?
I don't like 1 through 8 at all.
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea though of like keep it the 1 through 8, but then add. We already have the play-in teams, but
Two
add
more
it
to the
to
play
that
in.
exactly. Two in on
Got
two
you.
more to the play-in on each side. Um, that could be fun, and it'll make for some really competitive games as well as some really cool stories,
Yeah,
where
and
we
then
can
you
see
get what,
obviously the
2 weeks
first two
off?
sets.
You get 2 weeks off
Yeah.
between the regular season and the beginning of the playoffs. That
Yep.
pushes the playoffs into
And that could be a
late,
blessing and a curse
middle,
for
late
the
July.
playoff teams, to be
Yeah,
honest. Yeah,
yeah,
another wrinkle. Just another wrinkle to make the sport we love even more fun, dude. I'm like,
yeah.
I talk myself into it. Give me the expansion teams ASAP. I need it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's another thing, and I think that's going to probably lead into what we were going to talk about anyway. But that depends on how the schedule is built out. If they're talking about
Mhm.
shortening the schedule, how does that look?
Yeah, perfect. Listen, listen. People try to talk about this show. We're not professional. Listen, where do you see transitions of this caliber? I don't see them anywhere. I don't, and it's natural, baby. We're not out here figuring this shit out. This isn't pre-planned. This is beautiful. So
Yeah,
yes, let me set the stage here a little bit because that was great.
yes, sir.
Richard Jefferson and the folks from the NBA tonight were talking about how there's been some rumblings on shortening the season from the 82 games we know it to now to anywhere between the 70 and 60 game range for a full season. Now, they Richard Jefferson was the only one who really got a chance to talk on it because he was
Yeah,
just going off. Shout out to Richard Jefferson for speaking his mind there. But I'm gonna go on a little rant of my own here, and I don't necessarily. I'm not just parroting Richard Jefferson's points because he made a lot of really good ones.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, I agree with a lot of things he said because people are already doing so much to prevent themselves from being a part of the full 82
mm-hmm,
game season.
mm-hmm.
When you include playoffs, it is a long season. Like, let's get that
Yeah,
straight. Nowhere near as long as the MLB. Real quick, I just got to ask you this because this is general sports knowledge here.
yeah.
What kind of hat is this? Do you know?
Uh
Putting you on the
I'm going.
spot there.
Yeah, you are putting me on the spot. I'm going to say it looks like the Washington Wizards, so I'm going to say it has to do with the Washington team, but I'm definitely going to be wrong with that.
I like that. I like that. You were at least more correct than my boss was. My boss came up to me. He's like, "What is that? Alternate MLB logo?" I'm like, I'm like, yeah, I'm just rocking an MLB hat. This is actually a Chicago White Sox retro hat. So shout
Okay,
out to the Chicago White Sox.
okay.
Anyway, super off topic there.
Uh,
Sorry.
no, that was
But the
good because I
reason
didn't
why I
know.
brought that up, the reason why I brought that up is because they're nowhere near that amount of games that they
Yeah,
play in baseball.
yeah.
And honestly, I would argue, um, baseball baseball is not nowhere near as grueling as basketball, so it's deserved as far as the length of season. But the fact that so many things are done already to prevent people from playing the 82 games, like it's such a rare occurrence when someone sits through the entirety of the season and plays. And even if they do, at some point in some of those games, they're getting pulled early. They're not
Mm-hmm,
playing the full game or their full expected rotation minutes. I personally don't take too much issue to that. Like, I'm not someone that's like, oh, these guys are soft because they take rest. Hey, shit happens. It's all in the game of strategy and winning, right? That's ultimately what it's for. But at the same time, when you're talking about cutting the season down
mm-hmm.
to try to make an effort to keep players healthy, um that's the point of sports, right? Like, you need to be able to perform for a season in its entirety in
Mm-hmm.
order to gain the spoils from that. In order
Yeah,
to consider yourself a champion, you
yeah,
need to prove that not only were you better than your contemporaries, but you were able to hold it together better than your temporaries. And I think that that's the most important aspect of it for me. It's not so much like, hey, these guys are soft, they're taking rest.
mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. I think if it's ultimately about performance optimization, that's what we want to see, right? I
Right.
would rather I would rather see Kyrie not play when I show up to watch the Nets than him come out for 8 minutes and then leave as if that was his expected time, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would rather not. I would rather know that he's not playing and not have that weird surprise, right? So
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, that's my thought on these things. I think that's a big part of the reason why they want to shut it down too, because if your star player isn't playing, let's just be real, the people that want to show up to watch that game go down.
Yeah.
um but at the end of the day, that's the give and take you have to have, in my opinion, if you want a competitive sport. The more that you cut down on the length of the season just to tailor to the health of the players, the more you're taking away the accomplishments of those that were able to do it the right way with the a right amount of games, etc., to get to that point. And I know that's a hard argument too, because technically in the past, it wasn't this expanded league where you have all these teams. And this is, if I'm not mistaken, the most games currently that it's ever been, right?
Mm-hmm.
82 games is the most games it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the point of regressing now? Like we've got to
Yeah.
that point for a reason. Keep it the way it is. And if anything, with the play-in tournament that they're talking about adding, it seems like we're adding to that more so than taking away. So I don't see the issue with that. If you're gonna play and you're gonna participate for the money that's involved, do it and don't complain about it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm totally against shortening the season. Um, Mainly because I think the way that the league is being played right now, you already don't see guys playing a lot of games. I think if you're gonna have these designated rest periods, I would say it's mandatory to play road games and optional to play certain home games.
Hmm.
Because if you have
Really?
people, yeah, because if you have people that, like, say for example, when I go to a Celtics game here in Atlanta, I want to see Tatum, I want to see Brown, I want to see Smart, I want to see Horford, I want to see Rob Williams, right? Any of those five guys sit down, I love the rest of my team. Like, I love all the guys on the roster, but I want to see those guys. And if I only get once or twice a year that they come to Atlanta, and you sit those times,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
it should be to where if they're gonna have these built-in these designated days off, rest days,
Hmm.
that they rest at home.
Hmm.
Unless you are hurt, you should be playing on road games because and I think there was only a handful of guys this season that even played all 82 games. I want to say it was like 5 to 7 of them that even played all the 82 games. So you already don't get a fair amount of guys that play all games anyway. But I want to see if they are going to rest on home games. I don't want to see any resting games, guys resting on road games, because you have kids that are coming to these games that want to see their favorite players. They want to see LeBron play. They want to see Lonzo Ball. They want to see these guys that they love. LaMelo. They want to see those guys, but you only have, especially if you're in a different conference, right? You're only going there once a year. So, like, when the Warriors came to Boston, if Steph didn't play when he was in Boston, that once in that year, I mean, once in that season, now they come to Boston for the finals. The tickets are like $1,000 for nosebleed section tickets. Who's buying that, right? Like, outright. You see what I'm saying? It's cheaper during the year to see your favorite players. You want to see them, so go during the regular season. Playoff tickets are a little higher, and then of course the finals are the highest in prices. So, let these kids see their favorite players, especially if Giannis is going over to LA, right? If Milwaukee's playing the Lakers, kids in LA are only gonna see Giannis once a year, most likely. You gotta play, bro. You
I
gotta
like that.
play. You
If
gotta
you
play.
can, of course. If
If
you're
you
not injured.
can. Yeah, if you're you're suffering through a serious injury where it's going to make you sit out, that's understandable. But if you have the ability to play, you play. You play.
And I think that was the crux of the point that Richard Jefferson was making, when he was like, people already have scenarios where they should be playing and they don't.
And they
And I
don't.
think the only way to change that back to the way it was, and arguably the way it should be, is to incentivize these things in the contracts, like extensively. And now, obviously, nobody chooses to get injured, so it's
For
it's not
sure.
like people deserve to be punished for not paying these games. You
Mm-hmm.
should still get your guaranteed amount of money, but there should be
Mm-hmm.
some sort of bonus to that. whether it's 78 games or so or
Yeah.
whatever that. If you hit that mark, you should be getting some sort of bonus because I mean, let's just be real. That is what is expected of you, right? That it's not
Right.
like I'm asking you to do extra credit. No,
Right. Right.
that's what is expected of you. So at the end of the day, yeah, sometimes you're gonna call out sick. You're gonna have days where you're not feeling it, and I understand that as well. But you actually changed my opinion. Like I was fully before you talked about to go in and on the economic side of things and be like, hey, well, it's about the market you play in, and ultimately you're going to need your stars to play in your market. I disagree with what you were saying, but you being the level-headed, smart gentleman that you are, totally made me flip my stance on this. I agree. I never thought about it like that, as far as this being a global game at this point, where everyone wants to see these stars, even if they're not from their team. So a lot of people that are I mean, people got sports ties everywhere nowadays.
Yeah.
Nobody's really,
Yeah.
it's rare to find someone that's through and through only lived in the one spot their whole life. So
Hmm.
I agree with what you said. It makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
gosh darn it, I hate to admit it, but damn, this dude makes some good points.
I mean, think about it too. You have 41 road games, you have 41 home games. Okay.
Yep.
You
41
telling
versus 2 at max.
yeah,
3 at max.
are you telling me like you can't play 41 road games and you play, let's say, what, 28 home, 30 home?
Hmm.
Are you telling me you can't do that? That
Right.
puts you in the 72 range, you know what I'm saying? 72 games per year type of range where you still get those 10 games off.
Yep. And
Then
hey, you got a
that
home
means
court advantage, right? That
and you
you
have
should, your team will be
exactly.
fine without you. Yeah.
Exactly. And you do what? Rest one home game, one or two home games a month.
Yep. I think that will significantly affect people's home records, though. So that's an
It
interesting conversation.
it would, but I mean, especially if you're able to incentivize. If you want to throw incentives in there, personally, I think you shouldn't be incentivized to do your job. But
Mm,
if you are incentivized, it should be a certain a percentage of road games, like a minimum that you miss without injury, and a minimum no mandatory you play road games without injury, minimum of let's say 30 home games
yep.
if you're
You
not
should get
injured.
fined if you're
You should get fined if you're not
if
playing.
you can pass a physical and you can't and you decide not to play, you should be fined
Yeah, yeah. I
or
mean,
not
it's
receive your stipend for that game. Right? That's how it should
something,
work.
something. But I think it's an easy thing to build in. You already have guys like Kawhi Leonard. We didn't see him at all this year, right?
Mhm.
And we definitely didn't see Zion this year. Um, and they had serious injuries, right? Now, argue you could argue Zion was physically able to play, that the team just wanted to sit him out. In that type of scenario, I would say the league should be finding the team
Hmm. Yeah,
because it's not on the
and that
player.
that adds some interesting sort of animosity though, because I would imagine there'll be scenarios where teams don't want players to play, but players are like, "Hey, I'm not trying to get fined, so you better take that fine, bro. You better."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, shoot. eh, In my opinion, I think there should be, if you're gonna rest players closer to the All Star game, closer to the end of the season, that's where your rest breaks should actually come in.
Mhm.
Kobe Bryant said it himself, right? One interview, not even interview. He was, I think he was talking at Alabama one year, and he said that for him, he wanted to be able to see. He wanted to play these games. It didn't matter who it was. He wanted to play these games because he didn't want to take off and just lay back because it's Sacramento, right? He wants to. That's how you're able to keep your edge sharp. Play play these games, and to me, I think that makes sense as well. Like you don't want to lose your 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 edge.
Competitive edge. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that. You even if it's a game against a team that is not good, you should be able to play against that team.
Yep.
Now, if you want to say that the teams have options on road games to have a limit on their play time, say instead of playing 38 minutes, you're playing about 28, 25, something like that. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Not mad at that. If you want to rest like that, cool. But role games you play. They come to see you play. They pay to see you play. And if you're healthy to play, you play.
I like that. I like that because you can make that argument both ways. But like I said, you entirely swayed me. I was ready to make the other argument, and I was like, actually, you make way more sense than I would have. So I like it. I like it. But we can move on from
Yes,
that
sir.
and get into the most important basketball talk that there is left, and that is the NBA Finals. So of course, we didn't even get to talk about Game One either. So let's go
Yeah.
down memory lane. Let's start there.
Yes, sir.
I just gotta say, man, I had a good run in the NFL this season.
Yeah, we both did.
But this NBA season is killing me, though. The amount of bad takes that I've had on this show, and honestly, I stand by them.
You
Because
should. You
logically
should.
they make sense
Yeah.
in the moment.
Yeah.
But the amount of times I could be clipped just from this playoff series alone, it's embarrassing. I feel like I'm on my Stephen A shit lately,
It's
but
all
I
good,
stand
man.
by it. I was
Yeah.
shocked. I was shocked and appalled that the Warriors blew Game One. But let me break that down a little bit as someone that's
Please.
not a fan of either team. Before we move on, I just got to say, more so than Game Two, I was fucking losing at Game One, and I was excited as hell because don't let that final score fool you. This was a
Mhm.
game where before, at the second half, things were close,
Yeah.
but going into the fourth quarter, this was a game that felt like it was over already. This is a game that felt out of hand. So it was really cool to first see the big Warriors run in the third quarter, something that we've come to know them for at this point.
Hmm.
But in general, to see them go on that run and sustain it, exciting as hell. And then the
Hmm.
next thing we know, Boston is doing the same exact thing, but shutting out the Warriors in that fourth quarter in a
Hmm.
way that honestly, I don't remember really happening in a playoff game like to that extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that was really cool to watch. Obviously, Big Al and Derrick White had just the games of their career, and in the playoffs, of course, and that just made for so much fun, so much theater. So I'm just, if you could put me in a time machine to only Game One, how are you feeling, and what was your response after that performance?
Well, I think you and I talked about it, but I said that I thought that Boston was splitting in San Francisco. I just figured San Francisco was going to win game one, Boston will win game two. That was just my thought process with it. So in the sense that they won game one, in the way they won game one, I would say I was shocked that the refs allowed them to do that. To be completely honest,
There's no way they could have stopped that. To be honest,
they
what you guys
they
gonna do?
they couldn't, and I think that game one, yeah, there were some missed calls. I think you're always going to have missed calls on both sides, right? But to me, that was actually called closest to the middle than anything. I didn't have any complaints, honestly. I mean, not just because Boston won, but just because I don't like. I didn't see a lot of missed calls. I saw some missed calls for sure, but I didn't see any that were like egregious and that swayed any momentum to either side. They let those boys play. So yeah, game one I was ecstatic. The one thing I hated about that game too is that just narratives coming out of that game. You had people saying that Al Horford was blowing a kiss to Golden State, when in reality he was blowing a kiss to his wife. Excuse me, you had people automatically saying that Tatum, was, even though he had a career high in assists, that you know he's not looking like that guy. He's 24 years old.
Can't
Um,
act like that wasn't a bad game though.
it was a bad game, but that's his first game in the finals,
And not even
and he
just
was
that. I
getting
think
double teamed a
and,
lot.
and his defensive performance makes up for that too.
It does. His defense, and his assists. Like he still made up for the points that he did not. There's the shots he
If it
didn't
was my
hit.
career, he would have had a B. You feel me?
Oh
Like he
yeah,
wasn't at the
yeah,
C level.
yeah. Solid B. So I'm not mad at the way he played. You want him to hit those shots, but some stuff, some nights you just don't hit. right? And I wasn't hearing a lot of people get on Clay.
What do you have,
you know,
13 too? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but they just like some guys with Golden State, they just didn't hit shots, right? And Boston took advantage of it. Game two was the same way.
for, for the Warriors,
For
yeah.
the Warriors, it went the opposite way. Now, the only thing that I'd say that I hated about Game Two was that there was so many reviews and blatant missed calls. It wasn't
Mm.
like these refs didn't see it. That's I'm actually starting to like Scott Foster as a referee.
What?
I'm starting. It's so weird to say that, but
What?
when I compare his crew to Tony Brothers' crew, it like Scott is closer to the middle. Like his officiating crew, they are closer to the middle than Tony Brothers' crew.
I have a
Right?
question for you.
Yeah.
Should any official in any sport
Mm-hmm.
be considering context when calling calls?
Are you are you alluding to the flagrant? I mean, the tech that Draymond didn't
I'm
give?
alluding to that, but also just the finals atmosphere, playoff atmosphere.
Okay.
Should every game be officiated the same way? Because I would say yes.
Yes, that's my problem. I don't like that there's inconsistency from game to game. Like
Mhm.
it should be okay. You're going to allow these guys to play more physical. This is the finals. They play a little more physical. I'm fine with that. Win or lose, I'm fine with that. If you're consistent and stay in the middle, as close to the middle as possible, and you call the calls that should be called, I got no problem with it. But when you have guys that, for example, that foul that was called on Jalen Brown to was it Gary Payton, I think, going up in for the dunk.
Mhm.
He didn't even touch him,
Yep.
but you called it a foul. Draymond tackled how many guys, and it was for them. Yes. Yeah, if you can't, if you look, Niners, if you're not able to get Bosa to sign long term, Draymond's your guy. But no, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that, and it's not because I'm a Celtics fan. Like I feel like I have to preface that a lot. It's not because I'm a fan of the team, but if you're going to have these games be called and it's for a championship, you don't want the referees to dictate the series like with one game. Say for example, Golden State ends up winning. That's a game right there. You can tell that the referees in game two pushed toward toward the Warriors. You see what I'm saying? And I don't like. And Warriors fans would say the same thing about Boston with game one, that they pushed it toward Boston for game one. I don't like that either. To be completely honest, if I want it called toward the middle, fans should not be having this type of argument. We should not be sitting here talking about referees.
Yeah.
You
It's a
see what I'm
really good
saying?
way to say it. Really good way to say it. And I just gotta say, my end point on this series so far is like, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this, but I feel like game two was a worse loss for the Celtics than game one was for Golden State. Now, obviously, when you're considering the context being down 0-1 after the first game at home, that's a very bad spot to be in. Shout out to my boy Logic. Let me just make sure I get this in here.
Mm,
The winner of game ones have historically won the series 70.7% of the time.
mm.
So I had to make sure I got that out exactly because a lot of extensive research goes into these stats. So shout out to my guy Logic for that one.
What's up?
But um, losing that game, you would say a face value, like, hey, that's a huge L. Like that had some people talking about the brooms were coming out for Celtics, and I totally disagree with that.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
made it
agree with
clear
that.
after game one. I was like, you better bet the farm that the Warriors are winning game two, because
Mm.
that was a very surefire bet if you ask me,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
cashed. So fixed the bankroll up a little bit there. But I just felt like as far as the way both teams played, the Warriors couldn't even really be too upset with themselves. Of course, they imploded in a way, and that's how they ended up losing that game. I
Mhm.
feel like this second game is harder to swallow when you consider the fact that obviously Tatum scored nearly 30 points and the
Mhm.
rest of the team scored as a total about 50 when you take
Yeah,
away Tatum's points.
but
So
Tatum also had a negative 36.
yeah, a historic number as well.
Yeah,
I
so
think
that's
that
not
had a
good.
lot to do with him being doubled and having a lot
It
of
did.
turnover trouble and things
It
like
did.
that. But either way, I'm not a big analytics guy. More so, I mean, hey, I, I was a diehard Westbrook fan for many years, so trust me, I stay away from those analytics. But
Yeah.
I don't think they paint the full picture, but they do paint a good one. And I think ultimately,
Hmm.
my point in making and even bringing all this up was to say I feel like the second game, as far as which team was more out of character, I would say Boston has been the furthest removed in that game too. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back in game three.
Oh, for sure. I agree with
Moving
that.
forward, I don't think any of our series predictions are changing. I don't think
Mm-mm.
overreacting at all. I'm just excited, and let's talk about some things that we think need to happen or people who need to be called out. And of course, the first one is Clay Thompson. Obviously,
Yeah.
they had him in the game almost to the end or to the end, if I'm not mistaken, in
In
game
garbage
two.
time.
And he still couldn't get it going in garbage time
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
So there's something to getting those shots up, of course, but I thought that was something really worrying to watch out for. Uh, I saw a funny meme after Poole made that super deep half court shot, basically,
Yeah.
where they showed Steph looking at him like he's in love, and then they showed the meme with that guy where he's with his girlfriend and he's looking at the other girl, and then you see Clay in the back looking all sad. That was hilarious. But I think obviously
Oh,
there's a lot of things that he's still working through, so I'm
yeah.
not shocked. But at the
Yeah.
same time, when you have two games like that, um, I think it is cause for concern. On the other side of the ball, I think you hate to see Horford going from the absolute amazing game he had in game one to scoring what 2 points in the second game. That was a huge sort of step back. And I think someone else that I'm really looking at closely, Marcus Smart. I think he's
Hmm.
been played out of this series in some ways, where
Hmm.
certain guys got hot and then rotation choices made him sort of take a step back, and then when he finally did get those minutes, he wasn't able to make the most of it. So I'm really
Hmm.
excited to see a Marcus Smart game and a Clay Thompson game, because I
Yeah.
can't believe that they sort of took the back seat in the way they did in those first two.
Well, speaking of smart, I will say, well, hold up. Let me speak with Horford first. Horford, the difference between game one and game two is Ime got away from calling plays for him in game two. And I hated that because there were moments where he's obviously, I mean, you can tell Horford is a smart basketball player. Now, everybody has bad games, right? So I'm not even placing that whole performance on Ime. That's on Horford too. But when you don't run the offense through specific guys in certain waves, that happens, especially when you're trying to force the ball, right? You had Jalen Grant get two no and Tatum that had two fast fouls in the first quarter. If I'm not mistaken, I think Al Horford did too. Um, so that plays a part in it, but you gotta play the offense through different guys. Boston is different than, say, for example, like Milwaukee, right? You know you're running your offense through Giannis, and that's basically who it is. Especially if Middleton is out, Giannis is the guy you're running your offense through, and whatever happens with other guys, that's fine. So I think especially between them or like Dallas runs their offense through Luca, right? So
Mhm.
I think that you have a team where you can run your offense literally through four guys in this on a starting lineup.
Why
And
would you remove yourself from doing that?
why would you handicap yourself? And that's my question to Ime. So I think adjustment wise, that's not going to happen again. I think game three we're going to see a much smoother offense. But they just have to take care of the ball. If they take care of the ball, we know throughout the playoffs when they don't take care of the ball, they more likely gonna lose the game. So
Yep.
when they take care of the ball and play within in their system, when and they play the way they play, they win the game. Like it's not even a question. My only thing is I said this on All Nat yesterday, but I think an adjustment should take place. Robert Williams will should probably come off the bench. I would move everyone down and insert Derrick White at the one.
I like that.
I think you start because the way he ignites the offense is different. It's just different, and it's not a slight on Marcus Smart because I think people keep
And
saying
I
when
said that coming into the series. I said
yeah
that, but
yeah
I was
it's
thinking it was going to be Pritchard. So cool
yeah
to see Derek White step up in that way.
yeah, and to be honest, it's not even that Marcus is not the point guard you want. It's just in specific matchups. Like this is the matchup
Exactly.
we're seeing that he needs to move to the two, and you move Derek White to the one starting, and then you see what
Sure.
happens, but you rotate that way, and I'm fine with that. I think that that'll be a good way to do it. That allow Tatum and Brown to get going without having issues. You're allowed to space the floor even more than what they usually do. Move the ball, they good. I don't. I'm like honestly, this I know this is the biggest test that Golden State has faced. This is also the biggest test that Boston has faced. Like I think this is a great matchup. I said long ago I thought this was going to go all the way. I thought this was going to be a long series, so it's not surprising Boston lost.
Exactly.
You don't go 7 games and not lose a game.
Losing that bad though, I was a little surprised. I was a little
Losing that bad
surprised.
is not what I was expecting. But at the same time, when you have referees doing what they're doing, not calling fouls, and you admit on live TV that you didn't call a double tech when you should have called a double
Biggest
tech,
scandal. Biggest scandal.
you
Yep.
call a double tech. That shouldn't be because this guy already has a tech. Call a double tech, eject Draymond out, and that's a warning to Jaylen Brown. I mean, that's how it should have been. But what do I know? I'm just a guy. What the hell do I know?
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Dwayne from Past the Ox and Life's a Botch podcast. I'm coming to you with a real dope advertisement if you got a moment. Can we do that? Peep this. Yo, you tired of that uncomfortable feeling with your undergarments? You know what I'm talking about. Like, literally having to adjust so it gets real comfortable in between the real safe space. Or maybe just wedgies from just going underneath, you know what I mean? All that. Let's keep it in 100. Y'all know how I'm feeling. Y'all know how that feeling goes. Well, I want to introduce to you the ultimate solution coming from the #1 premium and fit athletic wear just for you. I'm talking about none other than Champ #1 Boxers. Champ #1 Boxers is a black-owned underwear brand, okay? They literally specify in giving you the most top-notch, high-quality, premium, adjustable and fittable and totally comfortable undergarment wear that is just for you. Not only is it something that you can wear, feel good in, feel confident in, and love, but it's also high quality, feels good, and most importantly, it is definitely fashionable, okay? Comes in a different, wide variety of so many different styles and themes to these undergarments. Something to make you look good, feel good, and swag real good in the process, all right? So, again, did I get to mention that this is also a black-owned brand? It's a black-owned brand, y'all, so if nothing else, definitely go support that 100%. So, what I want to do is I want to tell you, head on over to OTS Media Co. on all social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you go over, you click the link in the bios, it'll take you straight to the Champ #1 Boxers website. You can check out all their styles, you can check out their bundle deals, you can check out why this brand exists, what it's all about, and trust me when I say you do not want to miss out on the types of opportunities going on right now on the site. Champ #1 Boxers. Make sure you do it for the champ in your life if you ain't already doing it for yourself, champ. All right? Champ #1 Boxers. Make sure you go cop those. All right? All right.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for the message from our sponsor. We're on the up and up on this side. Okay, we got to do things the right way. So once again, just excited to get back into this NBA Finals coverage. Looking forward now. Obviously, we're back in Boston. What is the next game? Wednesday?
Yes, tomorrow night. Well, actually,
Awesome.
since it's coming out Wednesday, might as well just
Today.
say tonight. So yeah,
We're pros. We're
we're
pros
pros.
around these parts. So yeah, man. What are you looking at for this home stretch, and how you feeling going into game three?
I'm feeling good, man. I think to be completely honest, I think that, and I was told I'm reading it wrong, but I feel as if I'm gonna talk as if I'm speaking with my therapist. I feel as if there are Warriors fans that are a little broing us, that are looking at us as if, we can't do this.
Hmm.
And to be completely honest, I think if things are called straight down the middle, I have no doubts in my mind that my prediction will stand. Um, but I also feel as if Boston could win two in a row right here. I truly believe that. This is it's, to me, it's not far fetched that they could win two at home in this stretch right here, and then go back to San Francisco 3-1. I think they could do it. I think they could. Is it going to happen? Likely no. I think that what we'll end up seeing is that it's split in Boston as well, 2-2 going back to San Francisco. Um, but I do believe they could win both in Boston, and it's just a different energy that's there. Um, I you've seen different guys like Jordan Poole, um, even Gary Payton, you know, like step up and hit big shots and make big plays. Andrew Wiggins, I think he should be commended as well. Um, just playing really well in these playoffs, but in this series, I think he's been doing a phenomenal job. Um, but this
Which
is
we knew he would.
Boston. Yeah. Yeah, we knew he would. But this is Boston, man. I think, you're playing on a different road, and you're playing on the road against a different team. Like what they saw, and I think that a lot of Warriors fans were coming at me because I said that the Warriors had a easier road to the finals than the Celtics. They did. They did. I think you're playing Denver when it's literally just Jokic. You're playing who was the second round team they played? Memphis. You played Memphis, and then you played Dallas. Those aren't those aren't tough teams to beat, right?
Hey, pump the
Look,
brakes a little on
it's
that one.
as the Warriors, those are not tough teams for you to beat. We knew that they were going to come out of those series, every one of them. We knew that they were going to come out of those, and it was almost a shock when they lost the game,
Mhm.
right? But they bounced back and won and decisively. They have not seen a team like Boston in the playoffs, just like Boston has not seen a team like Golden State in the playoffs. However, they had a harder road to get there. You played Brooklyn, you played Milwaukee, and you played Miami. The last two series went seven. I think that those two series alone helped Boston prepare for a long run, right? And I think that it helped them figure out different adjustments that they need to make. Egos aren't in place, especially this is a team that's together for the first time, right? This is their first year with this group. So look, I think they're more prepared for a longer battle. The other guys, outside of your stars, the other guys, I think the other guys are more prepared than the other guys for Golden State, and especially for playing on the road. Let me just say it like that. I think they're more prepared for playing on the road than the other guys are for Golden State. So uh, I just think Boston, when they play the way they're supposed to play, I don't see them losing the series. I really don't. And could I be wrong? Yes, I could definitely be wrong. I could be, but I'm not moving from my stance.
I like that.
I'm not. I truly do believe in this group, and Rob is not healthy at all. We know that. Like, there's a lot of guys. If you're still playing in the playoffs, you're not healthy.
Period.
Clay ain't healthy.
Steph ain't healthy.
Steph ain't healthy.
Those ankles are looking
Yeah,
shifty.
yeah. Tatum isn't healthy. Brown isn't healthy. Smart isn't healthy. You play. You
Hmm.
play. And I think that if Robert's going to be out there, I think again he's going to have limited minutes, but when he's out there, he's going to like make an impact. I, I don't see them losing a series. I'm sorry, I don't see it. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not apologizing for that. I don't see it.
Don't apologize. I agree with most of what you said. I mean, we know what our picks are, so that's not a shock. But I would say the only thing I disagree with you on is I'm a little worried about this this home stretch a little bit more than probably you are. I think throughout the playoffs, you guys have been a better road team, and I think that
We
says a
have,
lot
we
about
have.
your team in general. I don't
Hmm.
think that's a knock the way some people say it is, but I would say it's almost a lock that it's going to be a split. Um,
I think it will be.
mhm,
I think it will
for
be, but
sure,
I wouldn't
for
be
sure.
shocked if they won both. That's what I'm saying.
I honestly feel like that more so about the Warriors than I do about the Celtics, and I know that probably burns you,
It doesn't.
but
I get
um,
it.
yeah, I feel like as far as the way game one went, um, I don't think that's a very replicable result for the Celtics.
I
So
think
I'm
it is.
interested to see that level of fourth quarter. What's different to me is the fourth quarter run versus the rest of the game. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
stretch out that performance across the quarters and have a more even game, and that way you got a little bit of a less sweaty moment going into that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I don't think shooting the lights out the way they did in that stretch is possible or sustainable. I mean, we saw that back and forth. Like that's what made that game so fun. At
Hmm.
multiple points, you could have looked at the game and been like, "This team's getting blown out." And
Hmm.
then the momentum just shifted back and well, only back and forth once, but still, the
Yeah.
way it shifted was drastic. So that's gonna make that game, in my opinion, a really one to remember. If there's more games like that in the series, this is gonna be a series to remember, and I already think it will be. So I'm really excited. I think a lot of the stuff we said came true as far as people being nullified, the ability for people to do what they have to do. I think Tatum's going to continue to do well. I think Jalen Brown is going to continue to do well. So I think it's just more so on the other guys, like you were saying before. And when Poole's doing well, that's a scary, scary team. Let's get
Hmm.
that shit straight.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm excited as I was before, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And please don't. I don't want anyone to think I'm discounting Golden State in any way, shape, or form. I'm not overlooking them at all. Like I said, I think this is the hardest team that Boston has had to face.
Yeah,
That's not discounting them in any way, shape, or form. I believe in my team.
hell
I
yeah,
believe in my
and
coach.
you got no reason not to.
No reason not to. So yeah, I
That's
would.
all we got for this.
Yeah,
Got anything
yeah.
else?
Again, I just wouldn't be surprised if they won two in a row. Golden State didn't win two in a row at
Mhm,
home.
for sure.
So it's going to shift back to San Francisco, then back to Boston, then back to San Francisco, right?
Mhm.
I think if Boston can do it, I think they can win it.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. I mean, that's what we thought already. So it's gonna be fun to see the way this one plays out. But I got a question for you. It's been a while since my team has been in the finals. What
Yeah.
is it? What is it in Derek's household? Though? Can you set the mood for me? Are there some candles going? Is there a séance beforehand? Like I need you to explain to me the vibe at the Myers household.
You know what's funny? Everybody is nervous, right? I'm not nervous. I was actually more nervous. Oddly enough, I was more nervous against Milwaukee and Miami than I am right now.
Hmm.
I'm really calm. It feels like it just
He's happy to
feels,
be there, folks.
yes, euphoric. I don't even know how else to how else to describe it. I think that it's the first time we've had the finals in Boston since 2010, right? So it's been a while since this team has even been there, and um it's really fun. It's really fun. I think right now I'm living in the moment with it, and I'm not like during the games. I'm not even sweating. I was telling someone during that third quarter in game two, I still believe that Boston can come back. I still believed it because we saw that in game one, like you said, going into the fourth, it looked like it was possibly going to be Golden State's game, and then Boston just came back and did what they did from the tip of the fourth quarter. That's kind of what the shift in energy I was expecting toward the end of the third quarter going into the fourth. So I was still sitting there like, oh yeah, we can come back in this. It's a deep hole they dug for themselves, but they get enough stops. They can hit a couple in a row and shift the momentum back their way. That's what I thought. I was wrong, but I do believe that we're going to see more of game one going forward than we are going to see more of game two. That's my prediction. I think we're going to see more of that type of play, than we are of game two, and I think that
So
that
that's
happens.
sort of,
Boston wins.
sorry to interrupt.
No,
That sort of four shot stretch right before Al Horford hit that dagger. Can you just tell me, set the scene? How are you flipping out? Because I need to know this. Was the shirt off? Like
no,
how deep did
no.
it get? How deep did it get?
I was quiet, man. To be completely
No
honest,
way.
I was quiet. When
I
I
was
saw him,
screaming,
when I
and
see
I'm
him,
not a fan of either team.
no, listen. When I see him hit the shots, I'm demonstrative. Like I will be cussing the screen out sometimes. I'm yelling at points, but oddly enough, I didn't do a lot of that in game one. I was just sitting here and just like, yes, do it again, drive into the paint. This and that. I literally sit there and like I'm almost like coaching. So it's kind of annoying to watch a game with me sometimes. But yeah, that's basically how it was. I was more so quiet, and I'm seeing these shots. That's Celtics basketball that I'm looking at. So it's not foreign to me to see that. I think that's what it is. It's familiarity. I think that's probably the best way I can describe it. I'm familiar with that. I'm not familiar with game two type play.
Yeah.
I'm not. But this group, oddly enough, just likes to take the harder road. I don't get it. I don't get it. You'll see it again in this series where they're gonna be doing some dumb stuff sometimes, and but we saw that with every series, even starting back with the Brooklyn series.
Mm-hmm.
They like taking it down to the wire sometimes, and then all gas go right through the finish line. I don't like that, honestly. I'd rather like not sit here and worry 4 minutes left in the game. I'd rather not worry. But this is just how they play, and I think this is the beginning. I told you before. I think that this is like their window is just starting to crack open. It's not even open yet.
Yep.
So they're in the finals in a moment when the window is just starting to crack. So it's gonna be this is the first of many right here, and I do believe they win the championship. I'm not swaying away from that. It's still 1-1. People are acting like this is a commanding lead for either team. It's not. It's literally the best of five from this point on. What are we talking about here?
Momentum is real, though. You know that.
Momentum is real. Momentum is real. But you're going back to a place where it's hard to play.
Yeah, man.
You're going to a place where it's really difficult to play, and I think they're going to be able to play their game there.
Oh yeah.
All they need to do is play their game there and play it once on the road. They get the championship.
Between the hostile crowds and the racism, it's a tough place to play. I will say that it is a tough place to play in Boston. But my question is, if Boston wins, you're dyeing the lake green, right? Like for the parade, like everything, we're going full out, right?
I'm dying. What green?
They're dyeing the lake green again as they do.
Oh
in Boston,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. I thought you were talking about.
He said, "I'm doing, huh?"
I ain't dying anything.
He said, "I gotta work, bro. I gotta work." Did you see the guy that got the Celtics 2022 tattoo? Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I actually blamed Robert Williams' injury on him. Because he got that tattoo. I think Robert Williams had that meniscus tear a week later.
Damn. Yep. Yeah, that's hilarious. I like that.
Yeah, but so far he ain't wrong. Like if Boston pulls us out, that dude's gonna be on the float.
For sure. I just
I'm
want to
looking,
say,
I'm
I
excited.
just hope this is I'm gonna move on from this because we already beat this finals series into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have to say, my dream scenario: we get to Game 7, right? We get to
Yeah.
Game 7, and then the Warriors win off of a Steph game-winning shot. That's my dream scenario. And
Okay.
I know you're like, what the fuck, dude?
That's a nightmare scenario.
And the reason why it's my dream scenario is just the banter. I would
Yeah.
love to to not only have you talk about the roller coaster of what it's like to have your team in the finals in the Game 7, but
Uh,
for it to end like that, like I don't know, we would have to commemorate that moment on the show somehow. I don't know how, but yeah, I'm excited to see how this series plays out, and I can't wait for if Boston does win, the amount of vitriol, the amount of the lack of shame that Derrick is going to have on this show after that is going to be amazing, and I'm all here for it. So
hey man, that sign behind me is gonna be something petty as hell, bro. I'm telling you right now. That's gonna be it. I'm gonna think of something real petty to put up there. Yeah, it's gonna be fun as hell. That's gonna be fun
hey,
as hell, man. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it. Banner 18, baby. Let's go. I'm not swaying
I
from my.
like that.
There's no waiver over here, man.
Hell yeah, Bill
Yeah,
Russell smirking right now as you say that. So
sir.
we move on to the most important sport, JK. Uh, DK Metcalf has
Yeah.
removed himself from minicamp. He has not shown up to mandatory practice sessions. Hey, if I was catching passes from Geno Smith, I might take off too. I might go on vacation too. You know what I'm saying? Nah, but I mean, you're expected to be there, and obviously he's upset for whatever reason. I would be upset about the OnlyFans situation, not about your football situation. You know what you're expecting coming into the season. You know your ceiling of your team. It is not very high. What the fuck do you have to be complaining about? I don't understand it.
I don't either. I think it's very interesting because it's not like he's not gonna be able to force himself out trade wise. Like what does Seattle gain from that? Right.
Hmm.
Um but we saw that with Debo Samuels. And where is he right now?
Yeah.
So I don't see it working for DK to force himself out right now, especially when beginning the offseason you were talking about this being your team. You
Yeah.
embrace the challenge of this, that, and the other. Now you're the leader of the team. Now that Russ is gone and Wagner's gone. Ah, I don't think he has much of a leg to stand on with that. Now, could he be traded? Yeah, I don't. It's not likely though. Not in my opinion. If they didn't
Hmm.
trade him now, up until this point, I don't see them trading him at all.
I agree.
For what? For what? You got to get something back for him.
Hell yeah, picks and
Players.
Odell, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Picks and
Oh my
Odell.
God, no, no. I do not want to. No, no. I do not want to see Metcalf in LA, bro. That no, hell no. Nah,
I had to do it because who else? I mean, who else are you willing to make a trade for?
Derrick
You
Henry.
would
I
you
don't
would
know.
need to be getting a receiver back, right? Like
don't, I don't
crazy.
know. Yeah, I don't know who you trade him for. Speaking of the Rams, though, it seems like they turned off. Like again, what is going on with the salary cap?
Dude.
What
They're
the
they're
hell
in
is
full
going on?
Madden mode right now, full franchise mode. Bro.
What is going on?
It's crazy.
I mean, I'm happy Aaron Donald got his contract, but Jesus,
I mean, hey, the Warriors did it this year too, and look where they're at. So
yeah, but I still need to know what's going on with that salary cap.
right, it
This is
feels illegal,
very
right? It feels illegal.
this feels like the league is just complicit.
Mhm. Just like fuck it. Go ahead.
Look at the other
Go
way and
ahead.
everything.
Yeah.
Ah, I don't know, man.
Defending champs too. Loading
Yeah,
up.
yeah. It's gonna be very interesting to see. This is gonna be a very interesting season. Very
Hell
interesting.
yeah. Dude, if
Very
they
interesting.
keep Odell and by come week 12, like that offense is gonna be crazy, bro. I'm drafting Stafford in all my leagues. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care. And I'm keeping the backup on my bench just in case too. It's that level. Like they're gonna be that much ahead of the rest of the league offensively.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
next week, I actually kind of want to talk to you about rankings per position on fantasy. I kind of want to talk to you about that. Like, who would you
Oh,
have going top five at each position?
that's exciting. Yeah, we
Yeah,
should do something like that.
yeah,
I mean, the NFL season is closer than we think, so
it
I'm
is,
excited.
man.
I
We're
can't
under
wait to
100
do
days
our
now.
kickoff show again because
Yeah,
last year's one was fucking fun. Like, I want to
yeah,
look back at that because I'm sure there's some gems in there
yeah,
of things
yeah.
that we knew was coming. So that's exciting. But we got to move on. There was a big event in boxing this last week. So you know it's a big event when it gets mentioned on this show.
Yeah.
Devin Haney versus George Cambosos.
Yeah.
Devin Haney was able to win a unanimous decision. In my opinion, I think he only lost one round out of 12. It was that dominant. Everyone sort of knew coming in that he was the favorite, but I just got to say the fact that Devin Haney by decision was plus 110 and I didn't put like I literally posted on Twitter. I was like, I'm about to take out a suspect loan just to throw down on this number because it was nuts seeing that plus 110 in the way that he typically wins. And
Hmm.
it was just dominant, man. Like honestly, it felt like he could have gotten him out of there earlier if he wanted to. But he just played the smart game plan like he always does and looked like a master of his craft out there. So I'm a big fan. I was a fan before. I don't know how people could watch a performance like that and A, be bored and B, have shit to say about it. Like
Hmm.
it's not on him to change the cadence of a fight that he's already winning. It's on the opponent. And don't get me wrong, Cambosos was trying to do just that.
Yeah.
It just speaks to the greatness of Haney, the fact that he had him honestly red in the face by round 5 from the jab. Just took him apart from the outside, and it was a great performance to watch. If you don't like that, you don't like boxing, baby. So I had to get that in there. But big
Yes, sir.
fan of Devin Haney and what he has to come. And to have an undisputed champion at 135, it's been this way for a very long time now. So I wonder how that works. I'm not really sure about that because obviously there's 4 different belts. Is there ever a point where they just decide, okay, well, we got to fraction this off? Or is it just until that person retires and then it gets fractioned off? I don't know how it
Yeah.
works. But obviously, Cambosos was the undisputed champ coming into this with all 4 belts. So he's going to get a rematch, but is it a deserved one? I don't think so based on how the fight played out.
Yeah.
But awesome performance by Devin Haney. We can move on from that one. And now I'm gonna put you on the spot, like I always do. UFC 275 this weekend, baby. We got some big title fights, some
Oh
big
my God.
matchups here that you're not prepared to talk about, but I'm gonna make sure that I get your picks here on 3 particular matchups. The
Okay.
first being a rematch of a historic fight. If you ask me, a fight that is on the short list for best UFC fights of all time, Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Zhang Weili 2. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one. Obviously, Joanna is coming off of a pretty substantial layoff. The last time she fought was the last time that they fought, which was about 2 years ago now.
Mhm.
Zhang Weili has fought for the title twice since then, losing both times to Rose Namajunas. What are your thoughts on this hell of a matchup at 115?
To be completely honest, I don't. I can't call it.
I don't blame you.
I can't call it. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but I am going to go with Joanna with this one.
Nice.
I'm going with her on this one. Not that Zhang can't do it. I'm leaning more toward Joanna with this one. I
I
like
don't
I liked
blame
how
you.
she looked last time. Yeah.
For sure. I agree with you. I thought she won that first fight, and I'm biased as hell. Let me just get this straight.
Yeah.
I am biased as hell. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is my gal, my favorite champion of that era. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of her. So obviously I'm going to be picking her, but I think Wei Li has looked better since that fight in her last 2 fights.
She did. Yeah.
So interested to see how this one plays out. I'm leaning. We're both picking Joanna in this one. But she's an underdog for a reason. I won't be surprised if she ends up losing this one.
Yeah.
But hey, last time she went out there, she had her head literally turned into something out of an alien movie. So I think it's a crime that this fight is only going to be 3 rounds.
Hmm.
But I'm excited that we're getting a rematch, baby. So looking forward to that one. Next up, Valentina Shevchenko versus Talia Santos, the most
Mhm.
dominant champion in the current MMA landscape. Are you smelling an upset here?
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know anything about Santos.
You don't need to know. You don't need to know anything
So,
to know it ain't
but
happening, G.
Valentina, I can't. No, because I would give you a honest assessment if I thought there was an ability to upset. But nah, Valentina's not losing this one, from what I could tell. She's not gonna lose this one.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna make the
Yeah,
case because that's what I do. I
yeah.
think Talia Santos is the biggest puncher that Valentina has fought since Amanda Nunes. I
Hmm.
think that's significant, but it's gonna require a Herculean effort out of Talia. A going entirely. What would be the proper phrase? I was real close to saying some cancelable shit right now. But you know what? I'm just gonna do it. You got to go clit to the wall and really come out in that first round as hard as possible and really try to take the fight by the scruff of its neck. Because if you give Valentina the space to operate, you are gonna fall behind. So I think her chance is really going out there and trying to make it a brawl as fast as possible and to try to put the pressure on Valentina early. But of course, I think Valentina is going to look dominant as always in the grappling phases of things. So Valentina Shevchenko all day.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
He's like,
Valentina.
I'm still
Yeah,
recovering.
I'm
Okay, I'm
sorry.
still
I
recovering.
can't
Hey,
even.
I got you a couple times this episode. I like it. I like it. It's only right. Next up, our championship main event in the light heavyweight division.
Yeah,
Yuri Prohachka, the man that I got a damn journalism degree covering in
yeah.
Risen, versus Glover Teixeira, the King of Connecticut. This is an awesome matchup. I just gotta say, because because Yuri's a fucking meme. Like, let's get this straight. I
Hmm.
fully like. This is a two true outcome scenario. Either Yuri's taking this guy's head off and showing it to the entire crowd
Hmm.
as he's getting crowned with the belt, or he's gonna get taken down at some point and just get schooled on the ground and submitted. There's no in between.
Yeah,
There's no room for other outcomes. If this is somehow a 5 round back and forth war, uh, I don't even know. I might retire from the show. Like that's how convicted I am in those two things happening. But I hope we get an awesome fight. I think there's no way, like zero way. Take this to the bank, please. If this turns out and that I'm wrong, 100%, give me as much shit as you can for it. There's no way that this fight sucks. Like there's zero way this fight sucks. No matter
right.
what happens, it's gonna be all action, and I'm here for it. But I'm picking Yuri to take Glover's head off, unfortunately. Even though I love old man Glover, don't get me wrong, one of the
Yeah,
best feel good stories in MMA. But I'm picking Yuri here. He's just too good, too damn strong, and in the prime of his career.
yeah. I think I'm gonna go with Yuri as well. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if Glover was able to pull it out.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm going
I
Yuri on
feel the
this one.
exact same way. It could
Yeah,
be either too much too soon or just the crowning moment that everyone sort of expects it to be. I'm
yeah.
really excited for that. Have you ever seen the videos of Yuri Prohatska just screaming in the forest? Have you ever seen those videos?
No, I haven't.
I need to send them to you because it is a sight to behold. He's a very strange guy. Like I just got to say that he's a very strange guy,
Yeah.
but not in the way most white people are. Like in a very different way. He's a different kind of white person. If that resonates with you at home, so really excited for this one. I think that's it though. I think that's all I got. Is there anything else we need to add before we sign off here?
I got nothing, bro.
Oh man, I think I was in rare form today, man. I think at least 4 times
You
here
were.
I brought Derrick into some shambles, so you'll love to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, you got me.
So with that being said, if you want more nonsense, make sure you check me out at Negron MMA as well as Chris Negron _. Really excited to have up another episode of the MMA archive covering UFC 14 with my guy Dale LePan. I had a real fun time recording the show with him. Make sure you check out his stuff as well, Punch List MMA. That's an awesome episode coming out, and we got another one being recorded in the hopper with my guy Arwin from Hawaii. We're going to be covering Pride FC1 in Pride Month.
Wow.
Isn't it amazing
Wow.
how that played out?
That worked
But
out
we are
very
no
well.
longer the UFC archive, baby. This is the MMA archive for a reason, because we're going through the entire history of MMA. Okay, modern MMA, that is. Really can't wait to watch this event. I've been literally talking about this for months, and you know
Yeah.
this, so
Yeah.
can't. I'm so excited to watch. I haven't even watched them yet, but it's gonna be big. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you so much for all the love and support, and make sure you follow this guy as well.
Sir. Yeah, yeah. You can follow me, Derrick underscore OTS. That's Derrick, black way to spell it. That's also why I was kind of like laughing at Derek Fisher because he spells it the wrong way.
Mm.
But more so, follow the brand at OTS Media Co. All social media platforms. OTS Media on YouTube, otsmediaco.com. Check out all the stuff we have going on, different shows, articles that are on the site. And please again rate and review. Let us know what you guys think about the shows, especially this show. Let us know what you guys think, how we're doing. If you have any ideas to help us become better, because we know how to take that those level of suggestions. So we don't take anything like that to heart. So if you have any suggestions on how you think that we could do the show even better, please let us know. We would love to hear from you guys. And again, yeah, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell on YouTube. Let's help us grow it out. We're at three. I think we're at 345 now, so we're building up slowly, and I love it. So thank you guys for all the love and support that you show.
Dude, I'm so thankful. I can't believe how far we've come since I've started. Like, it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
crazy,
it
dude. It's
is.
kind of crazy.
It is.
So just thankful for everybody out there. Make sure you follow the brand as always. And I think that's all we got, right? We could
Yes,
sign off
sir.
here with that.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
hey, this word of advice. We'll end it on this one.
Yeah.
Whoever that is the resident Clay Thompson fanboy, give him some hugs. It's gonna be a rough series. Y'all have a good one. Peace.